Spurrier and Bob Quinn tackle religion on Krakoa as Nightcrawler faces the huge task of setting it up on the island, but the violence, vices, and even a mysterious boogeyman prove to be a roadblock in Kurt's journey for mutant salvation. Spurrier, like Jonathan Hickman before him, dives deep into the rather philosophical aspects that come with setting up a new nation and new people. The big one being religion and how it's viewed on the island of people who have conquered mortality and been surrounded by others with amazing gifts. Cy gives Kurt a unique perspective on it all, and that is that he knows that they need religion, but isn't too sure on how to bring it to the mutants, especially seeing as how they are very set in their ways now and how violent these supposed superior beings have gotten. Again, like many of the other X books, we are made to question if what the mutants are doing with their people is right. And again, the Crucible is brought up, and it's again one of the more morally ambiguous concepts that have come with Krakoa and this new age of X-Men. And I agree with Kurt that it's wrong to have to viciously murder someone whose mutant gift was taken from them. There's like no sense to it whatsoever, but the people love it because of the violence. I'm looking forward to the book exploring more of that morality on Krakoa, and Kurt is the perfect vessel to tell this type of story through. Bob Quinn does some really great work throughout the book, making a book that was heavy on theology talk speed right on by. Along with the colorist Java Tartaglia, Bob also slowly turned the book from a casual looking X-Men title into something a little more sinister, as the artwork and colors are a little bit more darker and a little bit more serious, as Kurt got into the more morally ambiguous things like the Crucible, so that was a lovely way to watch things unfold throughout the issue. Way of X issue 1 was a great beginning to Krakoa's search for religion and Nightcrawler's troubled journey to bring salvation to the masses that brilliantly brought up all of the mutants' morally questionable acts since going to Krakoa and how they see themselves in the world. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Way of X issue 1 sees Xavier awaken from a nightmare, contacting Nightcrawler, who is already awakened at the early hour as he helps other mutants with the Venice insertion. Xavier remembers that he volunteered for that, not wanting to distract him, but Kurt asks if everything's okay, but Xavier says that he's just glad that Kurt is back in the field, since he's been too much in his own head lately, and maybe they all are. Xavier remembers his dream as Kurt knows when people seek a priest in the early hours, it's usually following sin or a death. Xavier reminds Kurt that they beat mortality and he simply wanted to wish the old friend a good luck on his mission. The mutants soon infiltrate a museum filled with scenes depicting every bad thing mutants have done. Pixie begins getting worried since Nightcrawler hasn't reappeared yet. DJ tells her to stop being such a wander since warring is totally something sapiens do. Blink knows that it's because Pixie hasn't died yet and gone through her first time, but the mutant defends her choice for not wanting to do it yet. The mutants tell Pixie to think of happy thoughts when she dies so she can come back with a smile, as DJ says that he bets Pixie thinks that the Patchwork Man will get her. The returning Nightcrawler asks who the Patchwork Man is, so DJ says that it's a bedtime story told to kids on Krakoa, as Kurt confirms that he's got their files and it's worse than they thought, since the Museum of Hate they find themselves in is funded by Orchis, who is using it as a recruiting office, teaching other people to hate mutants. Soon the mutants are found by one of the men, whom Kurt quickly silences, but it's too late as the new recruits rush into the room. Kurt tells Pixie to help the men expand their horizons, so the woman uses her powers to charm the men, peacefully ending the conflict. Armed guards soon rush in, shooting at them, but DJ's shields stop the bullets, allowing the team the time to open a portal home. Pixie, however, knows that they will make the men turn over a new leaf, wanting to use their guilt against them. The group know that she's going to do it as Pixie approaches the shotgun-wielding man in front of her, prompting him to blow her head off. Kurt attacks the man as the other mutants find it awesome the way Pixie went out. Kurt doesn't understand, but the others remind him that she'll be back since they kick Death's butt and they all come back. Kurt still finds this wrong, but doesn't know why, only that it is. The mutants all head home, leaving Kurt to ponder his thoughts as he soon spots a Magneto statue. Later on Krakoa at the Green Lagoon, Magneto meets with Nightcrawler after getting his message. Kurt tells him to sit down since the museum had some something of his, something precious to him, and despite not always seeing eye to eye, he believes Eric felt much heartache in the loss and he wishes to help. Kurt calls for the lights to activate, revealing the statue of Magneto and his missiles that he took from the museum, with Logan wondering if he's compensating for something with the missiles. Magneto realizes that this was all just a joke, but is very grateful for this since the old missiles are a testament to folly, saying all these years they wasted with mutant vying with mutant, using tools of the enemy to fight themselves. Kurt tries to stop him, but Eric continues, saying that look at what they can do when they embrace commonality, since they defeated death and built an empire of enlightenment. He proclaims that the missiles are a gift, an invitation to forsake the past and take the future for themselves. The mutants clap as he leaves, with Kurt following after, asking what Magneto just did. Eric says that he delivered a sermon to the people, reminding Nightcrawler that he wanted a religion. Kurt says that he's been thinking about that, but Eric knows that it's a fool's errand, but better than his pranks. Kurt says that his pranks are fitting for a land for the ever young, and laughter is an antidote for horror. Eric knows that this is about the Crucible and the one taking place that night. Something Kurt knows is murder, but Eric waves it off since they aren't worried about sinning against any god in their society. He tells Kurt that he's too busy looking for snakes that he can't see the Eden in front of him. Magneto takes his leave as a long-limbed being comes to see Kurt, saying that they are lost and just want to belong. Kurt knows it can be overwhelming at first, telling the woman to go to the welcome hall, waving them off as he leaves as well. That night, Kurt watches from the trees as Exodus talks to the children, telling them tonight belongs to the Crucible, telling them the Crucible is where they restore the grace to those scourged by the Great Pretender. The kids think that he means the Patchwork Man, but Exodus actually means the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff. The kids talk about how the Patchwork Man goes around cutting people's faces off, making Exodus ask about him, learning that he lives in the shadows and that he has funny hair and makes people hurt themselves. As the kids talk about the villain, Kurt hears a noise behind him, grabbing the hidden Dr. Nemesis, shocked to see that the man's head has changed, with strange fungi growing out of his hair. Nemesis says that the people throw away any thought of showing him respect for his genius since he cultivated the flowers they all used in the Krakoan medicines, but now he grows psychedelics from his own head. And it's why he's following Nightcrawler, since he can see the man is bewildered and they make for the best volunteers. Kurt says he's not bewildered, but Nemesis begs to differ, asking that if Kurt has actually tangled with other gods like the other X-Men have, why is it that they continue to praise and worship one that he has never seen? Kurt says that that could be why they do it, but Nemesis knows that that's not true, telling Kurt that they have alien life, metaphysical entities, and have even beat mortality, so all the big questions have been answered. Kurt wants to find better questions, something the Doctor is very glad about, talking about the Dunbar number, which says that humans have about 150 direct relationships, and beyond that requires abstractions. He pulls a mushroom from his head, studying it as he says that shared ideas are like laws, currencies, and figureheads, which have no reality unless a group chooses to act as if they do. Kurt understands the theory as the Doctor says that he would rather pin his hopes on him since he was working on something unifying. Kurt doesn't think he has any shared ideas and wonders what happens if they can't find them. Nemesis says that if he doesn't find them, then society will collapse into violence, but the likely outcome for them is that the strongest individuals simply invent rituals themselves. Later in the Crucible, Magneto violently attacks the woman Nightcrawler met earlier, telling her to get up from the floor. The woman merely says that she is lost and wants to belong, so Magneto slices her up again with the pieces of metal he throws at her. Eric says that it was bad fortune that caused the woman to become depowered by the Pretender, but today they offer resurrection, but as a gift he cannot just give. He impales the woman with the spikes, saying that she needs to take it from him on her feet. The woman sees Kurt, saying that she wants him to do this, as she was told that she gets to choose who can do this to her, and he's one of the kind ones. Magneto orders her to get up, impaling her again, so Nightcrawler grabs Eric, telling him and the others to stop this senseless violence, since all he's doing is hurting her. The woman, who raises up her elongated body, says that she is lost, and Eric creates a sword, acknowledging the woman, saying that tomorrow they will meet as kin. He kills the woman, telling Nightcrawler that nothing hurts more than a life of submission, something he knows all all too well. Dr. Nemesis helps Kurt up, offering him an experimental toadstool as the people cheer for the violence. The next morning, Kurt watches as the 5 resurrect the mutant woman. Xavier soon comes by and can see that Kurt is troubled by the religiosity of the 5, wondering why he's there. Kurt says that Xavier knows but wants to get rid of the man's guilt, rebirthing the mutant whose elongated body floats into the air. Dr. Nemesis knows that with her gravitational neutrality, she must have been in so much pain without her powers. Eric says that her pain belongs to yesterday when suddenly he violently throws up, as do many of the people in the hatchery. Dr. Nemesis says that it's thanks to the gravitational destabilization the mutant's body causes, and luckily, thanks to his own bio-alterations, he isn't getting sick, and Kurt isn't either, saying that it's probably thanks to his good balance. The woman apologizes, racing off, saying that she's so lost. Kurt tries to go after her, but Xavier tells him that she wants to be alone and that he is still needed there as Pixie is reborn as well, congratulated by her friends on her first death and rebirth. In the shadows off to the side of the hatchery, Pixie sees the Patchwork Man before seeing Kurt, who offers her a cheese toastie, but the woman rejects it, saying that she really wants some sushi, so she leaves with her friends to go and try and find some on the island. Kurt is upset, but Xavier reminds him that they come back as Cerebro recorded them, not as who they were when they died. Kurt asks when was the last time Xavier walked in his garden, since there is hope and wonder, but there is also much vice and violence and cheap death. The problem Kurt has is that they can't give any good reason why mutants shouldn't behave as this, and he finds no moral flaw in them, but he can feel something terrible just out of sight, waiting for the cracks to appear. Xavier agrees with him before turning talk over to Kurt's supposed religion, but the mutant knows it's been elusive to him. Xavier thinks that maybe he should focus on something else for a little while, so Kurt decides to focus on the talk he and Charles had the day before and why Xavier contacted him in the early hours of the morning. Xavier says he detected something, a presence of sorts that was hiding from him, and its actions are marked by surges of negative emotion, making him think this thing is preying on dreams, and Cerebro thinks that it's an Omega level mutant. Kurt knows that the children call him the Patchwork Man as Xavier asks him for help, or at least for him to consider it. Nightcrawler takes his leave as Xavier knows that if it is who he thinks it is, the council will send an X-Men team to deal with him and he would react with violence. Charles doesn't know much about him, but knows that he's devoted much of his life to grand causes and he's proud of that, but he can't deny that he has been a terrible father. Kurt wants to know why him, so Charles says that he understands people in the way he never could, because he is kindly. Kurt heads home, falling asleep, and soon is met by the Patchwork Man in his dreams, which scares him awake. Later on, Kurt goes to visit Ruth Allardyne's grave, hearing a voice which asks what scared a precog like Ruth so much that she decided to kill herself. The voice wonders if Kurt has ever noticed how there's no rush to bring back precogs on Krakoa, but Kurt says that there has been a long queue at the hatchery and maybe that's why. Suddenly Kurt is hit by a force which knocks him down as the voice says that his father sent Kurt since he was never once for kindness, but Kurt was, and he doesn't deserve this since he's really the only kindly one, but he's too late. The being is revealed to be Legion, who obliterates Kurt in an instant, telling him that bastards are already inheriting the Earth.